self-delusion, that's a big one. And that is so important to every living soul. And I'll start this with when I was 29, I had this experience. I was shown my whole life from a different context, and I was able to see that everything I had ever done was for self-serving motivation. So even the good things that I had done had been for self-serving motivations. And I remember that when I came out of this, it was like 2 weeks of really being a mess. Like, oh my God, your full cup has just been spilled over, and everything that you thought was in that cup has now been labeled as irrelevant. One of my spiritual counseling clients, who would not mind if I shared this, who has been struggling for quite some time, and I had been working with this person and struggling to get a breakthrough on the fact that the focus was on worldly pursuits, and that they couldn't see that this had turned them in a completely different direction than what God would have wished for them. And there was this relativistic attitude that we see with people where, what's the big deal? Who's it hurting? What's wrong with that? I just like doing this. And so this morning, that particular client contacted me to let me know that they had had a vision that I've been praying for probably a year. And it's a similar vision, but it was a vision where this person was shown their self-delusion. The things that they had perceived were false. And the things that they were angry about at other people, they actually were able to see that their own failure, their own fault in the events. They were given to see what was real versus what was illusion. This person had been persecuting something that was quite real in God's kingdom, and had been working very strongly in this whole worldly construct thing that we all do, the world. But this person was also very much like I was when I had that experience myself, and I've had more of those, by the way, not just that one. But this soul was able to literally see that, oh, my cup wasn't full. Everything was just spilled out over last night, because they saw that everything they had put in that cup was meaningless. It was pointless. Not only was it meaningless and pointless, it was false. And not only was it meaningless, pointless, and false, they were wrong. Not only was it meaningless, pointless, false, and were they wrong, they were actually going against God and not realizing it. And that's what pushed this client a little over the edge in realizing, but I don't want to do that. That's not what I set out to do. But somehow I didn't see it. And so this self-delusion is something that we all are vulnerable to. We're all capable of it. We're all easily very capable of it, because we are very easily given to justifying selfish pursuits, justifying worldly gain of all sorts. And what we often don't realize, we say, okay, well, who's it hurting? What's the big deal? Well, if you come here with a specific spiritual purpose that you are completely unable to fulfill because your glass is full with all of this false, delusional, pointless pursuits that is actually going against God, well, what do you say to that? Then you've got a problem, right? So what's happening is people are getting very lost by their worldly full cups. And they're not even realizing that what needs to be developed, nurtured, and created, pursued, disciplined in this life is not even being touched upon by almost all humanity. I don't even know how we would quantify that. 90% of human life is ignoring the purpose of their incarnation. So, wow, that's kind of serious, right? And so that's why it becomes so important then to actually learn how to discern. Ironically, the Catholic Church, other faiths, and the mystical experience itself takes you through mystical training. But even in the Catholic faith and in other religious paths, there is a process that you can go through to learn, even if you're not having mystical experiences, where you can start understanding some basic fundamentals of discernment. So you can start looking at your full glass and looking at it with a different eye, so that you might not be so inclined to just ignore things that might really be holding you back, really be hindering you from making progress in this life, in this world. I think most humans, if we die and we cross over and we face what happens in the afterlife, and we realize that we've kind of missed the point of why we were born here. We didn't do anything. And in many cases, we actually did things that turned us further away from the directions that we needed to go. I think most humans would say, no, that is not the outcome that I'm hoping for myself. We would all probably say that. But most humans would also not be willing to do that self-scrutiny that's required to actually see whether or not that's what they're actually doing.